Hello, Jimmy Page, how are you?
All right.
Okay, okay. Listen, I love that clip. We don't see it very often on the show, but you always look like you're about to curse the audience.
Yeah, maybe it looks like that, but it's not.
No?
I'm usually cursing the guitar.
So, Jimmy, as I'm sure most everybody knows right now, you've got your first solo album.
That's right, yeah.
Just released, called Outrider. I can't believe it's your first solo album. Seems like a hell of a time to...
Yeah, maybe it took a bit of time to pluck up courage for it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
But is it a move you feel comfortable with now that you've
Oh, yeah,
done it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I should have done it before, really.
Really?
Yeah.
What, before the firm, or...?
Well, I don't know, somewhere back down the line, but, you know, time permitting, this is the time that's right, anyway.
Right, right. A lot of people I know that have heard the album, the first thing they've said is, they say it's a return to form for you. I think probably what they're saying is that perhaps the second firm album they're a little disappointed with.
Possibly.
Do you feel...
I mean, I thought the second firm album was good as the first one, within you know, the framework of who was in it and everything.
Right.
I mean, I suppose this one, I suppose as far as being back to form or whatever, it's certainly just guitar. There's, you know, there's, from my end of it, there's, you know, it's just vocalists, bass, drums, and various guitars in different shapes and forms. So I suppose if they wanted to hear a guitar album, you know, they should do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit more about your new stuff and lots of other things in a minute.
Okay.
But first, let's have a bit of vintage Jimmy Page. This is a band he used to play in a long time ago called Led Zeppelin. You might have heard of them, and this is a track called Black Dog. Bit of Led Zeppelin there, rockers, and a bit of Black Dog. Jimmy, that's probably the most famous rock riff in the whole world.
Yeah, maybe.
It's got to be. I tell you, I was in America just a couple of weeks ago, and I was working late through the night and had the radio on just quite softly. It got to about 4:30 in the morning. I wasn't listening to anything that came on. It was just all coming in here and going out there. And suddenly I heard, "Hey, Mama said to me." It's like, whoa! And suddenly you could hear radios being turned up all over the...
Yeah, it's great. It's such an arresting start, isn't it? You know, as well, the vocals, yeah.
Can you still actually remember sitting there and writing that?
Well, I remember writing part of it because Jonesy was part of the writing of that riff as well, actually. But, yeah, I remember doing it.
Now, of course, after Zeppelin, of course, there was a period where you didn't do anything for a long time, and then you were re-emerged with The Firm. Yeah. Which, I must admit, I thought was going to be one of those bands that did stay around for a lot longer than they did. Encapsulate the whole story of The Firm for me now in a nutshell. What happened there? Was it supposed to be a band that stayed together for much longer?
No, initially the idea was to combine talents of myself and Paul Rodgers and do an album and mainly get out on the road and do some touring, just really one massive tour sort of thing, just to prove we were around and still kicking, you know. But in fact, that spread to a second album and then another tour as well. And neither of us really wanted to get locked into a band tour situation. Right. Because, first of all, we had a solo career beforehand, and I was keen to start, you know, trying some of my own ideas out in a solo capacity, you know.
While you were with The Firm, did you consciously, while you were actually on the road and touring and getting involved in the business of being in a new band, were you, obviously a lot of people were making comparisons in their mind between then and Zeppelin days. Were you doing that yourself? Did you find yourself saying, well, this is better than it was in the old days, or this is not as good as it was in the old days? Or?
Well, I guess the fact being that my, you know, guitar was such a predominant input to Zeppelin that nevertheless there's bound to be, you know, there was bound to be comparisons. I know that whatever riffs I wrote, I consciously tried to make them on Zeppelin, but it's very difficult, you know, or something that I could say, well, that's a bit like what we did before. Right. But then again, I've done the same since then anyway, but, I mean, I still come up with riffs, because basically I'm a riff guitarist, so...
All right, riff guitarist, that's what we want in this show.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Let's have a few more riffs now. This is The Firm, and their very first ever single, and this is Radioactive. Featuring my friend here today, Mr. Jimmy Page, and Radioactive. All right. Now, of course, The Firm ended not so long ago, and it seems to me you more or less immediately said, right, that's it, no more bands, I want to do a solo album.
That's right, that's right. Solo album, and then, you know, each album as it comes along after that will be a different project altogether. So different musicians, etc., you know.
Right, because on the album you've got 3 different vocalists. You've got
Yep.
John Miles.
Yeah, I'll tell you why, because I don't sing.
Yeah.
I'm saving everyone, you know, pain worse than death, if I'm not singing.
You've got John Miles, of course, who we all know from the Alan Parsons Project and the Tina Turner's band. He's singing with you.
Yeah.
You've also got Chris Farlow singing with you.
Yeah.
And you also got a new unknown young man called, what's his name?
Yeah, he passed the audition, Robert Plant.
Robert Plant, yeah, he sings on one track.
Yeah.
But you only given him one track, though, eh? What was that like working with Robert in the studio?
Oh, really good, really good. Yeah, we've been working together anyway on a few things like the Honey Drippers in the past, and I've done a couple of tracks on his album, and
I noticed.
And he came down and did one on mine, you know.
Is it very different these days when you and Robert actually stand there in the recording studio together and actually working? Is it reminiscent of Zeppelin days, or is it a completely different thing now?
Well, obviously we've got a friendship which goes way, way back, you know, and we've got an affinity together which does. Obviously in the past, the numbers that we did, we'd worked from right from the beginning, you know, the initial creation of the ideas and that. So it's not quite like that now.
We mean you don't fight as much, it's more polite.
No, we never used to fight that much.
You can tell me, Jimmy!
We'd be as assertive as necessary. No, it's all right.
What a diplomat, what a nice man and a diplomat.
You mean do we fight now? We didn't used to fight then.
Give me all the dirt while we play a video.
I'll tell you later.
All right. Here's a video you're going to enjoy, seeing our man here in action. This is again the firm, and this is Satisfaction Guaranteed. And the last part of the last show, but it's all good, it's all good. We're happy, we don't care, do we, Jimmy? I'll tell you what, we're going to bring things bang up to date in a minute and play your brand new single and video and everything. But first of all, we should tell everybody who's actually in this video and who's in the band, because this is your permanent touring band now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is the mainstay of the band anyway, yeah.
Right.
John Miles on vocals.
Right.
Durban Laverty on bass. And young Jason Bonham on drums.
Young Jason Bonham, now there's a name to conjure with.
Yeah.
Having listened to the album myself, is it fair of me to say his playing is very reminiscent of his father's style?
Well, his approach is very similar, yeah. I mean, his father taught him to play the drums, so consequently, you know, he's got a pretty good start there, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but you've probably had enough of us talking. You want to see what we're talking about, don't you? Settle down, here we go. This is Jimmy Page's brand new single, featuring all those wonderful people he just told us about. This is Wasting My Time. Yeah, all right. Jimmy Page, well done, Jimmy. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a performance video as well, I think, as opposed to this sort of running down corridors with the wind in your hair type of video.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, all the storyboard stuff. Yeah. Well, hopefully the music carries it without a few short skirts and all the rest of it.
Also, you know, funnily enough, I think it's good for people to see the band perform because you've got such a reputation through the years. I think people are still probably surprised that you can even get up and walk around. You've got such a sort of...
Yeah, I know there's been some surprising rumours going around, actually. I just come back from the States and, you know, you walk in the room and people are amazed that you don't come in a wheelchair or something.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible, isn't it?
From the stories I hear, you know.
Well, I was out with your record company in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and they weren't calling you Jimmy or Mr. Page, they kept using the word God.
I'll leave it out.
Honestly, I'll tell you, they said, you know, Jimmy is God around here, and I was going, well... You know...
Well, you know how over the top they are over there.
Does it make you feel nervous, though, when you walk in a room and there's probably people in there perhaps you don't know or strangers, and immediately you walk in, you can see them switch into oh my God mode?
Yeah, well, you do your best to relax them if it's like that, you know.
Right. Yeah. Happens when I walk in a room, you know. It's the same thing. You know? I have to make sure everybody's relaxed in case...
I just walk in a room and go, oh, God, anyway.
All right, now listen, you are going to be touring.
Yeah.
When does the tour actually start?
Well, it starts in America, then it starts in August.
Right.
And goes through to November.
Right.
And then hopefully we'll do some dates over here, Decemberish.
Ooh, yeah. Christmas time, eh?
Well, yeah, early part of December.
All right, we're going to talk some more in a minute. This is a video that Jimmy has in fact picked for us. It's an Aerosmith video.
Yeah, this is done by the guy who did our video, and apart from that, I really like Aerosmith, which is what he was by.
Yeah.
And because I think, you know, out of all the bands that come from earlier on, say in the 70s, I think they've come through with their really strong identity without sort of, well, just as Aerosmith, without ripping off other bands, you know.
I'll drink to that. This is Jimmy Page's choice of video. This is Aerosmith, and dude looks like a lady. Oh, looks like a lady, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks like something or other,
Really
yeah.
ugly, though. Yeah. All right, John, calm down, calm down. Jimmy, you picked that Aerosmith video. There's a very famous 70s band that's split up at the end of the decade, and then 4 or 5 years later, they came back.
Mm.
Now, of course, the next obvious question is, you were in a very famous 70s band, probably the most famous 70s rock band. Is there any chance of you boys ever doing the unmentionable?
Well, there's no plans to do it at the moment. I mean, the two things that we did, Live Aid was a really good reason to be doing, you know, working together with those numbers, and of course the thing at Madison Square Garden, that came up right out of the blue because
the Atlantic Records 40th
that's
anniversary.
right, that's right. And so we did that, and of course it gave Jason a great, you know, opportunity to show just how well he can play, you know.
Right. Actually, I saw Jason just a couple of days after he got back from New York, and he was still, like,
I bet.
really high on the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy yourself while you were out in New York?
Yeah, I got pretty nervous, actually, on that particular thing, because usually I just get used to pacing myself towards the gig, you know. We were supposed to go on at 12, and we went on at 1:30, and I was like that by then, you know. I think it tells if you've heard it. But it was fun.
All right. Now, listen, we have, of course, got a fantastic competition.
Just by chance.
Just purely by chance. It's funny you should be here. We've actually got one of these to give away. Can you see that? That says Jimmy Page Outrider. And that, my friend, is a lunchbox. In fact, hang 10 there. Hang 10 there, Jeremy. Weird Jeremy's on the camera.
Sandwiched inside.
Sandwiched inside, we have... Yes, we're all going wrong. We have a Jimmy Page interview CD with a very, very famous rock journalist. Can't remember his name. Jimmy Page Outrider cassette. Bit of Jimmy Page bump. Words you can read, can't you, Rockers? Of course you can. And a Jimmy Page Outrider interview video cassette. Also done with probably the most famous rock journalist in the world. What is his name, that guy? I don't know. Anyway, we've got one of these to give away. We've also got 2 brand new Jimmy Page albums, Outrider. And all you have to do, if you want to win them, is answer me this incredibly difficult question, as it's the last show. What's the name of the guitar that Mr. Page here is most famously associated with? What's the name of the guitar? And if you think that's not difficult, how's this? What year was it made? Name the year and the make of Jimmy's guitar, which everybody knows, right? Anybody that's worth talking to knows. And you can win one of these. If you want the address, we're running it right over this next video, so we're going to relax.
I like some of the stuff they did, yeah.
Yeah. From like the earlier stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
What's
Sorry,
that?
Michael, your time's up. It's a wrap.
Is that a friend of yours?
I don't know. We'll find out later.
I think he means it's the end of the show, Jimmy.
Seems like, yeah.
The end of the last show. We're not sad, though, are we? We don't care. Do
Well,
we?
sort of.
Just a little bit.
I mean, I won't be able to get my share of metal anymore.
I know, and we haven't told anybody yet that this is your favourite rock show, have we?
Sure is, sir. Yeah.
He's serious when he says
I
that.
am.
Yeah, I'm serious too. Look, it is all over. It's been very nice of you to come on, Jimmy.
It's been my pleasure.
I'll tell you what, seeing as it's the last show, would you like one of these?
I'd love one.
Well, look, this one's specially for you. It's very heavy indeed, but I know you're a strong man. I'll probably take one of these myself. In fact, I might take 2 because Guy, the floor manager, he loves headstones, so I'll take one for you. There you go, Guy.
Right.
Especially for you, my old donut. Right, Rockers, me and Jimmy, we're off to play with the Stones.
Right.
And we'll see you later. We'll meet again.
So big within the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and yet it even been, you know, bigger before that. They've become so saturated that they don't really show very much appreciation, even though they are liking it, you know. You don't get the big sort of riot things and mobbing the stage anymore. I mean, that's just finished completely.
Have you any ambitions unfulfilled?
Yeah, well, I'm making a film.
On your own?
Yeah.
What is it?
With equipment. Oh, it's just a sort of system of events, you know. It's not finished yet. It started.
What inspired you to go into film? Was it Blur?
I suppose in a way subconsciously it could have had a lot to do with it, yeah. But I've always been interested in movie making, and as an amateur. and I started to buy sort of professional equipment, which cost a fortune. You asked me what we did with our money. And that's, you know, I'm just going to, as soon as we get some free time, I'm going to really hammer into it.
Needless to say, Page doesn't believe it. The other thing Page says he couldn't believe was when he saw Whitesnake's guitarist play his guitar with a bow. Page says he was amused by Kingdom Come, but even more amused by Whitesnake. When MTV asked him about the ethics of musical borrowing, Page had this to say.
It depends, you see, you know, just how much of something is sampled. If you go as far as sampling, you can sample one beat, you can sample part of a riff, or you can sample a whole of a riff like Kingdom Come. And it depends how fair it is. I'll leave you to make your mind up on that.
You ready for some music? You ready for us?
Yes, Jimmy Page is back. He's on tour to support his Outrider album, of course, but the show itself is also rich in Pagean pop history.
Just in so much as the Outrider album was, you know, me going back to my roots, you know, and going back to the blues and, well, obviously there's the rock riffs, which are very, you know, they're very sort of stylized to myself, but there's also the acoustic music, etc., etc. Within that concept, I wanted to carry that on with the tour, which would promote the album, and just present everything, well, things that go back to the Yardbirds, Zeppelin, The Firm, the Death Wish 2 album, and Outrider, but more than anything else, just sort of showcasing all these sort of guitar techniques that I've pioneered.
A subsidiary star of the show is Jason Bonham, son of the late Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham, who manages to fill his father's shoes and then some.
The influence of my father is there from when he taught me at a very early age. But I suppose he hasn't been around now for 8 years, so I've seemed to, you know, not progressed in a way, but created my own type of style with him. Obviously, he's the backbone to me.
Although his new solo material has found acceptance among longtime fans, Page will always be most closely associated with the music of Led Zeppelin. How is he dealing with his potentially cumbersome heritage on stage?
I wrote the music of Zeppelin, so I deal with it very simply by playing it.
Playing those old Zeppelin classics is one thing, but what about the guy who has to follow in Robert Plant's footsteps and actually sing them?
I remember years and years ago in one of the sort of bands I was in a long time ago, used to do Zeppelin covers anyway, so I'm quite, you know, quite well trained in it.
But there's one Zeppelin hit that stands wordlessly on its own in the current Page show, that all-time 70s FM staple, Stairway to Heaven. A lot of people would love to see a Led Zeppelin reunion, too. Once and for all, will such a reunion ever happen?
I'm asked about it maybe once every 3 days. No, there isn't any plans at all.
Page, it seems, is having too much fun playing to the 80s audiences that are flocking to see his shows.
Obviously, there's a lot of Zepp fans, but I'm surprised at how many young people are here, you know, in their teens. Is a lot of, it makes up primarily a lot of young people, which is really nice.
Well, it means a hell of a lot, not just for me, but for many people who have got the complaint of multiple sclerosis. And when I was invited to do it, it was great to be part of it.
That we've heard